In March of 2026, the world's most important waterway slammed shut, and almost nobody was ready. One narrow strait, 20% of the world's oil supply, and one country that no longer needed it. It started in 1991, inside a quiet government office in Beijing, with a television and a war. Operation Desert Storm didn't just show China a war bet, it showed them a leash. The United States Navy had just proven it could shut down the Persian Gulf whenever it wanted. Oil flows when Washington allows it to flow, breeze. Every Chinese strategist in that room understood that. That same year, China had quietly crossed a line, and they were no longer an oil exporter. They were an importer. Within 15 years, China would need more oil than almost any nation on Earth. Then March 2003, the invasion of Iraq, and the second lesson hit even harder. 80% of China's crude imports passed through two narrow straits, Mekelle, both patrolled by the United States Navy. And in that moment, a vow was made. Never again would a single choke point hold the Chinese economy hostage. The first move on the board started not in the Middle East, but thousands of miles north, in the frozen forests of Siberia. The Eastern Siberia Pacific Ocean Pipeline, a steel artery thousands of miles long sneaking out of the Russian wilderness. Built in a place no American aircraft carrier could ever reach, Bugyaits, where the ground stays frozen 10 months out of the year. Crossing directly into the Chinese city of Daqing Kruni, and not a single drop of oil ever touched salt water. No tankers, no straits, no choke points, no foreign navy standing between the wellhead and the refinery. The first oil started flowing in 2011, and then came the expansions, 2018, 2020, 2022. In 2019, a second steel arter came online, in Yul, the Power of Siberia natural gas pipeline. Then in 2022, the West cut Russia off, and suddenly Moscow had exactly one serious customer left on Earth. China didn't just get energy, they got it at a discount, on their terms, paid in yuan, not dollars. By 2024, Russia had become China's single largest crude oil supplier, through pipelines no blockade could stop. But the pipeline through Siberia was only the northern door. China was already carving open a second door, punching directly through the mountains of Pakistan, all the way down to the Arabian Sea. A small fishing town almost nobody in the West had heard of, a place called Gwadar. Land oil tankers at a port just outside the Strait of Hormuz, then move that crude overland into China. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, for CPEC Corridor, announced in 2013 with a price tag of over $62 billion. Highways, power plants, railway lines, fiber optic cables, an entire corridor carved from scratch. And at the southern end, a deep-water port leased to a Chinese state-owned operator for 40 years. Designed to handle the largest oil tankers on Earth, with pipelines heading north directly into China.
Every barrel that lands at Gwadar is a barrel Washington cannot squeeze.
Every mile of pipeline heading into China is a mile of leverage subtracted from the Pentagon. While the United States spent trillions fighting wars across the Middle East chorus, China spent a fraction building backdoors. But pipelines and ports only work if you can survive the gap, and that's where China's third move gets truly insane.
Hundreds of feet beneath the Chinese coastline Praktuen, a world almost nobody on Earth has ever seen.
Massive underground caverns carved into solid rock, storage chambers so enormous you could fit entire skyscrapers inside them. Construction started in 2004, Phase 1, then Phase 2, then Phase 3, expanding quietly for 2 decades, spread across coastal provinces. Locations never fully disclosed to the outside world. You can't bomb what you can't find. You can't sanction what you can't see. The American SPR sits in salt domes along the Gulf Coast. Well mapped, well documented, visible to anyone with a satellite. China's total storage, estimates as high as 1.3 billion barrels, nearly double the maximum capacity of America's entire strategic petroleum reserve. Buried in caverns, hardened against airstrikes, quietly waiting for the exact moment the world is going through right now. In any geopolitical standoff, the country that can wait longer wins. China just spent 20 years making sure they'd never run out of time. But even with pipelines, ports, and caverns puny, there was one final piece. And it's the most counterintuitive weapon in the entire arsenal. It isn't a pipeline. It isn't a port. It isn't a cavern full of crude. It's a solar panel. In a single year, China installed more solar capacity than the entire United States has installed across its entire history, cumulatively. Massive wind farms across the grasslands of Inner Mongolia. Turbines as tall as skyscrapers generating power for entire provinces. China is currently building more nuclear reactors than the rest of the world combined. Tens of thousands of miles of electrified high-speed rail, functionally replacing short-haul domestic flights across eastern China. In 2024, more than half of all new vehicle sales in China were electric or hybrid. More than half. Every electric car sold in China is a vehicle that doesn't need gasoline refined from imported crude. Oil through the Strait of Hormuz now accounts for just 6.6% of China's total energy consumption. 20 years ago, that number was nearly 30%. While Western analysts mocked Chinese renewable spending as wasteful overcapacity, Beijing was executing the most effective energy security program in human history. And then March of 2026 arrived. The moment every piece of this 20-year puzzle was built for. Tankers stranded outside the Strait Bengris, their captains waiting on insurance underwriters who had stopped writing policies for the region entirely. Oil futures spiked past $100 a barrel within hours. Then $110. Then $120. Screens in trading rooms from London to Singapore turned an angry shade of red and stayed there. In Manila, the Philippine government declared a national energy crisis. No pipeline to Russia, no Guadar, no underground reserves. In Canada, gas prices surged 30% in days. Even one of the largest oil-producing nations on Earth got hammered. In Tokyo, utility companies started burning through emergency reserves. The lights held, barely. In Seoul, refineries begged their government for sanctions waivers, willing to buy oil from anywhere, at any price. In New Delhi, the rupee started sliding. Back-to-back crisis meetings. Every hour the numbers got worse. In Brussels, European leaders convened emergency summits to keep their economies from tipping into recession. In Washington, the president authorized another release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the FINGRV, a finger in a dam already cracking. The American Reserve TOF, well mapped, well documented, sitting in Gulf Coast salt domes visible to any satellite frilly, being drawn down. And then you turn your attention to Beijing. The lights are on. The factories are humming. No emergency address to the nation. No rationing announcements. No panic in the streets. Tens of millions of Chinese drivers charging their electric vehicles overnight from solar panels and wind turbines. Pipelines from Siberia kept pumping. Russian crude kept arriving in Daqing. No blockade could touch it. Tankers from Africa and Iran kept unloading at Gwadar, their cargo moving overland through Pakistan into western China. Underground caverns along the coast sat topped off, holding more than 1 billion barrels of insurance against exactly this scenario. The renewable grid kept generating. The high-speed trains kept running. The economy absorbed the shock like a body that knew the punch was coming. Because it did. Every piece of the plan was built for exactly this moment. This is what the pipelines were for. This is what Gwadar was for. This is what the underground caverns were for. Every solar panel, every electric vehicle, every decade of patient construction was designed to deliver China to exactly this moment. Nobody saw it coming. Not really. Western analysts wrote individual papers about CPEC. Energy reporters covered the Espo pipeline. Climate journalists tracked Chinese solar installations. But almost nobody connected the dots. Almost nobody saw the entire 20-year mosaic for what it actually was. A geopolitical chess move so long and so patient it looked like background noise.
This story was never really about oil. It was always about time horizons.
The brutal difference between a civilization that plans in 4-year election cycles and a civilization that plans in 20-year arcs.
While Western democracies debated pipeline permits for a decade at a time, China built them.
While American strategists cycled through 3 different Middle East doctrines, Chinese engineers were carving caverns into coastal rock. While European parliaments argued about climate targets that kept slipping brood, Beijing was installing solar panels at a pace that made every Western commitment look embarrassing.
Every step of the way, China told the world exactly what they were doing. The pipeline agreements were public. The CPEC announcements were public. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve construction was public. The renewables targets were public. None of this was hidden. It was just boring. It was infrastructure. It was spreadsheets and concrete and steel.
It didn't trend on social media, so almost nobody paid attention.
Until the strait closed mode, and suddenly the spreadsheets started writing the news.
Critics called Gwadar a white elephant for years. In March 2026, it was the most strategically important port on Earth. Every barrel flowing through the Siberian pipeline was a barrel that the crisis couldn't touch, Ulyss, and Washington couldn't stop. And those underground caverns, 1.3 billion barrels sitting in solid rock tolls, enough to outlast almost any conceivable crisis. The renewable grid didn't just supplement China's energy, it systematically shrunk their exposure to the Strait of Hormuz for 2 decades. The country that runs out of options first loses. China made absolutely certain they would never be that country.
Washington finally saw the complete picture. Not a series of infrastructure projects. One 20-year strategy, standing upright while the rest of the world staggered. That was always the plan. Beijing didn't scramble. They didn't panic. They had built 20 years of patience into every pipe and every panel.
2 completely different strategies, 20 years in the making, and in March of 2026, you watched which one actually worked. The boldest piece of the entire escape plan. A port that sat just outside the world's most dangerous choke point. 4 escape routes, 20 years, hundreds of billions of dollars. The patience to never once explain what they were actually doing. Until one March morning, a strait closes on the other side of the world, and the lights stay on in Beijing. Even America felt it. Even the world's largest oil producer couldn't fully insulate itself from a closed strait.
That's how interconnected the global oil market actually is. When Hormuz closes, even the exporters bleed.
The United States had the oil. What it didn't have was 20 years of strategic patience building alternatives.
Every wind turbine spinning in Inner Mongolia was a small vote cast 20 years ago for energy independence.
Every electric vehicle on a Chinese road is a small middle finger pointed directly at the Strait of Hormuz.
And even in March of 2026, construction continues. The chess move that never stops being played. High-speed trains running on clean electricity. Tens of thousands of miles of track that made oil irrelevant to Chinese transit.
One narrow strait. And a country that spent 20 years making sure it would never matter.
What is being built right now in 2026 that will quietly reshape the world in 2046? What 20-year chess move is already 5 years in, quietly unfolding while everyone's attention is locked on the next election cycle? The most dangerous moves on the geopolitical chessboard aren't the loud ones. They're not the invasions. They're not the sanctions. The most dangerous moves take 20 years, hundreds of billions of dollars, and the patience to never once explain what you're actually doing. A waterway just 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, Pormans,
holding the global economy hostage for a century. And Beijing sits at the center of it all, trays, insulated, prepared, and exactly where 20 years of planning was always meant to land them. 4 routes, 4 decades of investment, one result: oil that flows regardless of what Washington decides. They didn't just build escape routes around the choke point. They shrank the choke point itself until it barely mattered.
The rest of the planet finally understands what just happened to them. The checkmate they never saw coming.
Checkers versus chess. Election cycles versus 20-year arcs. And on one March morning in 2026, this is what patience looks like at civilizational scale. 20 years, 4 escape routes, 1 checkmate, and a world that never saw it coming.